Good afternoon. I'm Jan Ramirez, and this is Health Matters on Say Radio News. Our guest for today is Majken Connor, a Seneca College student who will be talking about delayed sleep phase syndrome or disorder.
What is a delayed sleep phase disorder?
So, delayed sleep phase disorder basically means that this happens for you, but it happens later than it should. So, normally you should start to produce melatonin when it starts to get dark out. People with delayed sleep phase disorder might have the same melatonin production as someone without a sleep disorder, but it happens 3 hours later than it should. So, rather than starting to get tired around 7, when it gets dark at 7, they don't start to get tired until 10 or 11.
When did you realize that you have this disorder?
So I realized it when I found out that the disorder was a thing. I've always had issues with falling asleep early and getting up early, but I've never had issues with sleeping per se. So I would sleep for 8 hours, but I would fall asleep at 3, not 10. And no matter what I did, I couldn't make myself get up early and make myself fall asleep early. If I forced myself to get up early, I wouldn't be able to fall asleep any earlier. And so what would happen is I would get sleep deprived and then I would get sick. And then I would have to sleep to get better. And any progress I had made just went away. So I was aware that it was a problem I was having, but I didn't discover that it was actually a thing that you could get diagnosed with and get treated until I was diagnosed when I was 37.
So, how has this disorder affected your life?
Of course, it had, a greater effect before I knew it was a disorder. I had a lot of trouble in high school. I was late a lot, and I lived in the country. So being late, it wasn't just, you know, okay, get up, walk to school. It was someone has to drive me to school if I missed the bus or I just didn't go. It also affected me as a parent. I was lucky in that my kids didn't get up early. They were never the 6 or 7 o'clock risers, but I was also, my schedule was shifted. So my ex and I kind of took two shifts where, he was the one that got up in the morning and dealt with them and got them to school, and then I would be up after everyone went to bed and do things like laundry and catch up on chores like that. And then later on, it definitely affected me in terms of work. I ended up being a consultant, and people, they have their routines. They want the consultant on site. They want to have 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock meetings, and I just can't get, out of my house regularly at that hour. And so it definitely helped when I got diagnosed because people were a lot more willing to accommodate rather than try and tell you to just get an alarm clock. But at the same time, it did also pose challenges because people could be understanding, but also that didn't mean they didn't want someone there at 10 o'clock. So that was definitely a challenge in my professional life.
What are the treatments for delayed sleep phase disorder?
There are two main treatments, and you can do one or the other or both if you feel that you need to shift your schedule. And I want to be clear about that. Some people are really happy if they find a lifestyle where they can just sleep when their body wants to sleep and get up when their body wants to get up. I'm not one of those people. I feel worse the later I get up. The two different treatments are melatonin and light therapy. So melatonin supplements to help you get tired, fall asleep. You take it when you're supposed to be producing it, when you're not. A lot of people get this wrong. It'll say on the bottle to take before bed. And when you first start taking melatonin, it does actually make you pretty sleepy half an hour in, but that goes away um, because you start producing melatonin when it starts to get dark, but you don't go to bed as soon as it starts to get dark. So if you think about, if it starts to get dark at 8 and I fall asleep at 11, that's the gap you should be expecting between taking melatonin and it working. So I've actually talked to a lot of people that think that melatonin doesn't work for them because, they take a dose and, after a week they stop getting sleepy after half an hour, so they take a higher dose. And after a week they stop getting sleepy after half an hour, so they think it's not working, but really they've been taking it wrong. So it's definitely important to know what you're taking it for and make sure you're taking it the right dose at the right time. So obviously it's definitely important to talk to a doctor about it if you can. And then the other treatment is light therapy. And so that's just getting a really bright light. And the idea is that within an hour of waking up, you sit in front of this light for half an hour, 45 minutes. And the idea is that it trains your circadian rhythm. So you're giving yourself a really good blast of bright light earlier in the day. So in theory, you start to produce melatonin earlier as well in response to getting all that light. So some people use both. Some people respond better to one, some people respond better to another. Personally, I don't respond to the light therapy. I need to take melatonin at night.
What are the adjustments that you've done so far while studying online? Because you've mentioned already that you've done adjustments in terms of taking care of the kids. And then, so what about studying online? What are the adjustments that you've done so far?
Classes being online have actually given me more options for adjustments I can make. So, of course, there's naturally for a 10 o'clock class, I don't have to get across town for 10. I need to get downstairs for 10. But also, when I'm picking my classes, I haven't necessarily been able to build a schedule that doesn't include a class that's too early. And because things are online and, people are, having technical issues, also because there's a lot of international students who haven't been able to make it to Canada, a lot of profs are recording their classes. So I actually have a class this semester that I can't attend during the time, but I'm actually able to participate in because things are online and the classes are recorded.
So, those are really insightful. It's a really good thing that we can talk about delayed sleep phase disorder because personally, I think it's a new thing for me. This has been a really good conversation.
It's not talked about, and that's why I'm happy to talk about it. Maybe some of our fellow students will listen to this interview and they'll learn about it. I found out about it because I was researching how much melatonin you could take safely.
Yes, and I really appreciated that you're sharing this with me and to our listeners. So, thank you for this interview. Stay safe.
Thanks, you too.
That was Majken Connor talking about delayed sleep phase syndrome or disorder. I'm Jen Ramirez, and this is Health Matters for Say Radio News.